So the common question I get on a daily basis right now is, drumroll, what is Bitcoin? Is it real? What is this about? It's a bunch of crap. What is Bitcoin? In this video, I'm going to tell you what it is. The first thing we have to address is the existing money system and how it works. So there's roughly 120 trillion in dollars, some level of currency that is developed or manufactured by a government, in our case the Federal Reserve. Then it is distributed out to banking institutions or private premier dealers, and they then lend that money out and make more money based on the amount they get from the Fed. What is created is a system or a financial debt that honestly can't be ever paid back, which then goes to the question, what's it worth? What is the US dollar worth? What is the euro worth? What is the lira, the Deutschmark, what have you? What is it worth? Well, in the past, prior to the Nixon administration, it was based on the value of gold. We had gold as the benchmark, and we had gold reserves to backstop the value of our dollar. And then we came off the gold standard and we went based on the credit worthiness of the United States. Well, since then, the amount of dollars issued has proportionally or exponentially grown. In the last 10 years or so, we've gone from, a very low amount to, in the last year or so, a very high overproduced amount of dollars. 7 or so trillion, I believe, is on the Federal Reserve's books as debt that they have created. And what does that do when you make more dollars? Supply and demand. If there's more dollars and you're producing more, you're devaluing it. And in the last 10 years, the US dollar has devalued by an average of 15% annually. You look at inflation, the cost of goods, how things have gone up in price. Heck, look in the last 2 years how the cost of homes have gone up, or lumber has gone up. I've talked about this before, where the dollar in the past would have bought a 2x4 for $3.97 or something of that sort. Today, they're $7 to $8. Now that value has gone down recently because, well, deflationary environment starting to happen a little bit, not much, but still our dollar is buying less than what it did, say, 10 years ago. So then in 2009, Satoshi Nakamoto writes the famous Bitcoin, the peer-to-peer cash payment system. And it's a white paper outlining what Bitcoin is. And essentially, he is saying is, let's take the control in manufacturing of money away from a committee and create only so many monies, say in this case Bitcoin, 21 million Bitcoin, and have a mathematical process for which it is, number one, made and distributed, and number two, a transaction system that is based on mathematical formulas that then is verified multiple times by hundreds and thousands of what they call miners, and creates an encrypted system that can't essentially ever be hacked, and making the money creation system a system that is not fungible or fudgeable, I think is the word I'm looking for. Fudgeable. It isn't, oh, we need more dollars to get ourselves out of a jam, let's print more dollars system. And that gets really interesting to the geeks of the world, the computer geeks, the gamer geeks. And they start grabbing onto this and start building a community. In 2009, Satoshi Nakamoto created the first Bitcoin. And in 2010, he turned the whole thing over to the Bitcoin community. Basically, and then at that point, he has disappeared, or they have disappeared, or, well, honestly, nobody knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is, but what they have created, I'm going to use they, because we don't know if it's an entity or multiple countries who have written this, or if it's a human being, or if it's a woman or a man. It's just a name. And since his creation of the white paper, Bitcoin has created a whole new opportunity when it comes to technology and how we do business. And the people in power, well, they're scared. Now, Bitcoin is a digital currency. But if you really look at the present system of money, money is pretty much digital. We do very little exchange of actual physical currency, US dollars, euros, the Russian ruble, or anything like that. It is merely a digital ledger that says, I've produced X number of, in this case, US trillions of dollars, and it's put into a ledger, and then that money is then distributed out through prime dealers, and then it's ledgered there that they transferred this money to, say, Bank of America, and then they put it in their ledger, they received so much money. So it's a ledger system that is held digitally. Where Bitcoin is different is that it is a peer-to-peer. So let's say you and I do business together. I hire you to provide a service for me, and you tell me I owe you X number of Bitcoin or fractional shares of Bitcoin, and I go to pay you. Well, I then transfer that Bitcoin directly to you. Who does this eliminate? Well, number one, if I were to pay you in, say, Venmo, or I transfer money from my bank account to your bank account, or I write you a check, there is a multiple middlemen who take a piece of each transaction. What Bitcoin does, it eliminates all the middlemen, which means you get your fair share. Now, is there a fee of some sort within the Bitcoin transfer? Totally. Absolutely. You've got to pay for the cost of transferring from one person to another, but it's fractional in comparison to your bank. So take, for instance, my credit card. I swipe a credit card, or let's say my debit card. I swipe my debit card. The natural belief is that I then transfer money from, say, my bank, Regions, to Publix, my grocery store, and they get a piece. They get that money, or 100% of that money. And the truth is, they don't. They only get a part of that money. The other element is my money that sits in my bank at Regions, it's been told to a relative of mine, it's not really my money. It's our money, but it's not our money. And if you really start to think about your money at the bank, at any moment, they can shut it down and shut your access off to your money. And that is the fear that Satoshi Nakamoto has, or had, or something of whatever they is, has about the current money system. My money that sits at my bank can easily be frozen. The bank could easily come offline, shut all their doors, and they could be holding my money. I'll give you an example of how they control my money and your money. I wanted to transfer X number of dollars a month from my bank account to my brokerage account or my crypto account. And they came back and said I could only transfer $5,000 a month of my money, supposedly, to this other entity. Why are they doing that? Well, if I start pulling a lot of money out, and you start pulling out a lot of money out, and two friends of yours start pulling out a lot of money, it puts stress on the bank, and then eventually the banking system. So in this essence, you don't really own your money if you have the money with them. And that's where Satoshi Nakamoto came in and say, wait a second, let's decentralize this whole thing. Let's take the control out of the committee and put it back into the hands of the individual. And that is where decentralized finance was born. And honestly, when you start to dig in and think about it, and if something drastically happened, you couldn't get your money out of the bank, how would that impact your financial life? How would that impact everything? What if all of a sudden the government said, no more. If you got over $20 in currency, anything above that, it's ours, gone. And you think, oh, that'll never happen. But Google it. It's happened multiple times. So now that you have an understanding of the basics of what Bitcoin is, question is it gonna, keep growing? So is Bitcoin risky? Absolutely. It is volatile as can be. On December 17th, London markets opened up and Bitcoin went down 17% in 45 minutes. Now, if you were smart and you saw that happen, you bought a ton of it and you rode it back up to 52,000, where it got to earlier this week. So Bitcoin is risky. It's volatile. Along with all these new cryptocurrencies, they're all volatile. What's going on right now reminds me of the dot-com boom, when you could create a company, lose billions of dollars annually, and your stock price would go up 30-40% in a week. I remember watching Amazon go up like 10% a day for months on end. Ridiculous amount. So yeah, it's volatile. But in the end, what you have to look at is what Bitcoin represents for the future. What could it do, or the technology behind Bitcoin in the blockchain system do for our world? Well, it's caught the eye of many wealthy institutions. Every financial institution pretty much in the world is right now going, how do we use this technology? How do we get ahead so we can profit from it, so we can be a part of it? Because the way it's designed, the whole cryptocurrency blockchain system is to eliminate the existing financial system as we know it today. It will change, and question is, will you be a part of that change?